Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. So this time, I want to take a look at this. Froggy. This was Marvel, The Lost Generation. From Marvel, of course, from 2000, by Roger Stern and John Byrne. It's a 12-issue maxi series running 2000-2001. The series was numbered in reverse order, starting with number 12 and counting down to number 1. It tells the story of superheroes who are active after World War II and before the debut of the Fantastic Four. With the sliding timeline Marvel uses, based on 2000, that makes this occurring mostly in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Of course, that's almost 2.5 decades later, and so all of this would have been around 2000 or the 80s, but some of the stuff is time specific. The story involved the first line, a loose confederation of superheroes. Some of the contemporary Marvel Universe characters are touched on, Doctor Strange, Thor, for example, and the Skrulls play a major part of the overall plot. Now, in each of these, as far as I can tell, in each of these issues, I only have two issues, and I wouldn't mind getting others just to read them. But they have their specific plot for that issue, but there is a thread line of plot running through all of them, from what I understand. So, and I'm just going to focus on number 8, but I'm going to take a brief look at number 11. And this is number 11, but this is also number 2. It says right here, number 11, 2 of 12. As John Byrne, his character looks kind of like Captain Canuck. And he is, now I've forgotten his name. And I have a man here. It says, "This man will make a discovery that will threaten the world." So, I'll briefly look at this one. And this is this guy. It looks like Iron Man. He's kind of like Iron Man, but the pre-Iron Man. And he is falling out of the sky over New York, 5th column. Oh, he stops, and there's some menace here. And it is taking over and co-opting and building and constructing on this building. He tries to bust in and it's spreading. Now it's spreading over to another building. Meanwhile, we see that regular guy on the cover, and he finds a wrecked spaceship, and he goes, "What's going on?" And he looks in there, and it says it seems abandoned. He finds this little gizmo. It's got a scroll talking on it. It's a recording, and it talks about reconnaissance for an invasion. It goes, "Invasion! Oh my gosh!" And he tries to rush for help. Meanwhile, this Iron Man ripoff busts into the building, and there's all these other characters, heroes, in these containers. And then he's being inundated by tendrils from this thing. Have all these other heroes who are captured in these tanks. Meanwhile, here's this guy, Payne, Robert Payne, giving a lecture, and then he is he's heading home. Let's just introduce the character. We'll see him later. But the guy who found the spaceship is rushing, flags down a motorist, tells him about the invasion, shows him the video, and the guy says he's nuts and kicks him out. The Iron Dude manages to free some of the other heroes who help free him, and he's up against the villain Nocturne. Nocturne. And he is behind all this stuff, and this menace is growing and growing. Here is Mr. Justice. That's that guy's name, Mr. Justice. Looks kind of like Captain Canuck, and flying in to help. So the guy goes to the cops, says, "See, this is aliens, and they're going to invade." And they says so right there, and they think he's nuts and boot him out. So Mr. Justice gets there, and everyone is freed. Then the guy he's booted out, he's in this cafe. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. He happens to run into this jock, because it's a college town. And he tells him the deal and said, okay, give you this address and name. And he goes to see his buddy. And his buddy sees his buddy who's a scientist or a science student and says, see all this? This is true. And yada. And says, and no one will believe me. And says, Sir, but we got to find this guy. Contact the Pentagon. Got to find this guy. He's disguised as a human. Says, a search won't be necessary. I know exactly where he is. Uh-oh. Then we get to I missed something. Yeah. Oh, there it is. The one of the characters, Pixie. She's like some kind of immortal thing. I don't know that much about her, but she has a pixie dust, and it affects living matter. So she sprinkles some on the stuff, invading the building, and it turns it to stone. And then the top of the building starts to collapse. And destroys the top 8 floors or so of the building. Now we see that they go in further, so it's stopped that, and it apparently affected Nocturne as well, because he must have been in contact, and he is turned to stone and crashed. Oh, so that's the end of that villain. But they put him in. He's come back before. They put him in a container and take him off. Then we see the building was the Baxter Building. Yes, it's looking forward to the Fantastic Four. And meanwhile, we see the scientist with the gun on the guy who said, no, said, I know exactly who the invader is. It's you. And this, because all this is gibberish on here to us, but you can understand it. So only the alien would understand it. And this guy happens to be Reed Richards. And the jock that referred this guy to him was Ben Grimm. Again, here he is transforming into the Skrull, and he and now his memory comes back because he was injured in the crash. Then I have something hinting at something for later. Now this is the one I wanted to really get into, and I've already this is number 8, 5 of 12, and has Pixie again. Ooh, so, and I like this one. And this part starts in the 22nd century. It's some kind of research center where they do time research, time travel. And there is a Skrull, and they are on friendly terms. And the Skrull is there for diplomatic purposes, and but the scientists are trying to find this lady who is in the 20th century, gone back in time for some research. She's onto something, and they don't know what's going on. So they can't quite exactly pinpoint her, just exactly. So this is back in the 70s, early 70s, and because we see the hippies, the way they're dressed and everything, and here's the guy. This guy and his daughter. I guess earlier he was a hippie superhero, but I guess he's not anymore. But he's attacked. His daughter and granddaughter and him are attacked, and they're being saved by. No, that's not Batman. That's the Black Fox, who is a Batman ripoff. And that is the guy we saw earlier, Dr. Robert Payne, the white-haired guy we saw earlier. And the Black Fox, cool, and he beats the crap out of him, and then the hippie guy he just saved chastises him for the violence, and then he takes off because he has no superpowers, but he's just like Batman. Goes back home, and then he finds Pixie in civilian attire. You can see he's not quite silver hair. He's just got salt and pepper head hair, and she was waiting there for him. And because they're being called to Washington to their handler for the super group that they're loosely affiliated with, and so here's some stuff that happened in Ceausescu, and they're talking, and they see some footage because they were looking at the guy, and they find he's sitting talking to somebody but doesn't show up on film. There's obviously somebody there. The guy who filmed it saw him. The guy he's talking to saw him, but he doesn't show up on film, and it is Nocturne. Hey, he's the villain from the other one. And with Pixie. And so they go to... we haven't seen him in a while. Because remember, the other one takes place like a decade after this. So there's... so they're kind of undercover, go there... And there's someone has sent him, this cop, European cop guy, to see them, and it's Doctor Strange. See, I told you they had some Marvel Universe characters in there. Doctor Strange, he wanted to talk to them, so they're chatting, and then he's their contact, and bringing them up to speed on what's been going on. So the Nocturne has been out of commission and imprisoned in this in a castle, but the villain Diablo has gone. He bought the castle, and he was setting something up. So they have to go to the castle. There they are in costume and stuff, and it's still all run down and stuff. He set something up, and it's really nice work, nice artwork, nice storytelling. But see this one. Well, there's this whole section of this wall that has been cut and pulled out like a plug, and it's like feet of rock. And then see a Frankenstein style lab set up down here with all this kind of blood. Oh, it's Nocturne, and there's Nocturne in his whole costume, and that's down there in this pit, locked away. And says, "You must free me." That's Diablo. So Nocturne had turned the tables. There's Black Fox breaking in, and he's reflecting back on an event that happened years before when he was like a sidekick, a Robin-type sidekick, and up against Nocturne, and he was unsuccessful in stopping Nocturne from killing a victim. So he's not going to let that happen again, because that's foreshadowing. And here's Nocturne, and he's sitting there drinking blood. Oh, gross! That's carrying the fake vampire shtick too far. Oh, but it's not fake, because he really is a vampire. Then why all the funky stuff? So, well, if you're an actual undead, that explains why my pixie dust doesn't work on you, because it only works on living tissue. And uses fake stuff for fake vampire type stuff. So why don't you just bite them? And he says, bite? I don't. That would just produce more vampires. I don't want competition. And so, and he's evil looking. Yeah, I like him. Then, then the fox comes swinging in and impales him with a wooden stake, boom, right through the heart. But he gets right up and says, that didn't work. That hurt. That didn't work. And you've seen too many bad movies. The stake is not to kill the vampire. The stake is to imprison him in his coffin. Yeah, that's right. It's to in the movies and stuff, often it just destroys them. But it's to imprison them so that they can't get out of their coffins. So he's flopping around, and then suddenly sunlight, boom! Doctor Strange shows up and disintegrates part of the wall. But the sunlight, because he has been taking treatments from Diablo, who has been gradually transforming him into a living being again. So, but it must have been working, because the sunlight doesn't bother him anymore. That's why he had that body covering suit to protect him from the sun. And he goes, and so then Pixie says, "Oh yeah, well if that's the case," she gets her pixie dust, tosses it at him, and he starts turning to stone. But then for Fox to smack him down, but he turns into mists and mists away before he can be turned into stone. So then they close everything up, make sure that Diablo is still imprisoned, and now everything's fine. But Nocturne got away. He'll probably be back. Says maybe not, Fox. After all, he's going to need this, and part of him had turned to stone before he missed it away. So that's fun. This is all good fun. It's a Marvel style story and Marvel style characters, but they're, with a few exceptions, not your regular Marvel characters. And it was all fun, and I enjoyed it. I especially liked the number 8 with Nocturne and Pixie. Well, they both had Nocturne and Pixie, but with the Batman ripoff. But I really enjoyed that. And so let me know in the comments below. Have you read this? Because I hadn't heard of this miniseries before. So have you read it? And what did you think of the overall story? It's kind of a gimmicky, but it's looks like pure fun, and I wouldn't mind reading the whole thing now. But I'm not going to go hunting for it. And it's some nice John Byrne art. I think it overall was a well-crafted story. I'd like to know more about the Skrull subplot running through it. So that's it. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, share, and subscribe. And do leave your comments. And remember, comics are art.